All right. Hi there. Okay, so once again we are tree diagramming. And last time you learned how to diagram transitive verbs. Well, the thing about transitive verbs are there's some specific types of transitive verbs. And the one that we're going to learn today is to give. These are verbs that particularly show one person giving something to someone else or making something for someone else. So they have not only a direct object but an indirect object. Let's take a look at how that works. Okay, reminder as always. First thing you want to do is separate the subject from the predicate. The subject is the noun phrase that is doing the action or being described. Now, with transitive verbs or any type of action verb, the subject is doing something. It's a person, place, thing, or idea that is doing an action. The predicate is everything that that person, place, thing, or idea does. All right? So you've seen these sentences before. The little boy kicked the ball. This is an action verb showing what the little boy did, in comparison to a linking verb that links the subject to a predicate description. All right, now you already know the difference between action and linking verbs, so just a reminder, action verbs show action while linking verbs give us a description. Okay? All right, now you've learned about transitive verbs, but you have not learned about to give verbs. So I'm going to explain to you what a to give verb is exactly. First of all, it is a type of transitive verb. Okay? A transitive verb is a verb that has an object. In this sentence, Susan made breakfast. We ask the question, what did Susan make? She made breakfast. It answers the question what she made. The verb make is transferred directly onto breakfast. Now, to give verbs down here are a particular type of transitive verb. They're a transitive verb that says who the direct object or the object is made, given, what have you for. So let's see an example. Susan made her mom breakfast. Susan is still making breakfast. If you look at this example here, Susan is still making breakfast. She still has a transitive verb. Because what did she make? She made breakfast. But now there's a new question we could ask. Who did she make breakfast for? Well, she made breakfast for her mom. Now what we have is breakfast is the direct object of the verb made. However, the indirect object, the person that it is made for, is her mom. Okay? These are types of transitive verbs that have an extra step to them. Okay? So they're the exact same thing as a transitive verb, but they have one extra step. Okay? The direct object is the thing being transferred on from the verb onto. What did Susan make? She made the breakfast. But then the indirect object, this idea that's being introduced right here, is who or what it was made for. Her mom. Let's take a look. Okay, now, the thing about to give verbs, they are the first type of verb that has two options when it comes to a sentence formula. Okay, you always have the noun phrase subject. All right, and here we have VG, the verb to give. Okay, now there's two options to set up a sentence. You can either have the indirect object followed directly by the direct object, or you can have the direct object with the preposition either to or for, and then the indirect object. Take a look at that. Write that down in your notes. That might not make much sense yet, but let's take a look at some examples. Okay, here's an example of the first option. Okay, Susan made her mom breakfast. This is our example. Okay, we start with our sentence, and then we have a noun phrase subject and a verb phrase predicate. That we're used to. Okay, in this sentence, the only thing that is a part of our subject is Susan. Susan is doing all of the action. Okay, I already told you that this is a verb to give, but now we have two parts. We have the indirect object, who she's making breakfast for, her mom, and the direct object, which is a noun. Does that make sense? So we have our subject, then our verb, then our IO, our indirect object, and then our direct object. That's one option. Another option looks like this. Subject, verb to give, the direct object, and then within a prepositional phrase, because we have 2 or 4, we have the indirect object. Okay, so let's take another look. Susan made her mom breakfast. We know from our growing up with English, we know that this means that Susan made breakfast for her mom. Okay, that's exactly what we're describing over here. So, Susan made her mom breakfast, or Susan made breakfast for her mom. Those are the two options we have available to us. All right? We have the subject, we have the verb to give, we have the direct object, and then we have either 2 or 4. Those are the only prepositions we're going to see. And then we have the noun phrase indirect object in here. Now, you always have a noun phrase within a prepositional phrase, but when it comes to this type of sentence, that noun phrase is also the indirect object. Let's take a look at another example. Tommy gave his brother toys. All right, so he's actually giving something. It's Tommy's our noun, our subject. He's giving something, our verb to give. Okay. Is he giving his brother? No, he's not giving his brother away. He's actually giving away the toys. So therefore, toys is the direct object. We have the direct object afterwards. So we have indirect object. Remember, indirect object, IO, is who the noun is being given to. The DO, or the direct object, is what is being given away. All right, so we have adjective, his brother, and then we have noun phrase, direct object. There's one option. Pause the tape, pause the video, and write that down. Here's another option. Okay, very similar to what we saw before. Tommy gave toys to his brother. So in the first sentence, we had the preposition for. Now in this sentence, we have the preposition to. Okay? So Tommy gave, VG, direct object. What did he give? Toys. Now the thing is, if we cut off the sentence right here, and I cut off everything else, okay? If I could cover this up, I would. If we just put a period right here, Tommy gave toys, what kind of verb would we have? We would have a transitive verb. You're very right. This is still a transitive verb that we're just adding to. Does that make sense? So Tommy gave toys. You are used to this. You are used to having a noun, a transitive verb, and then a direct object. But now we know who it is being given to. So we are adding something else. So we call this a verb of to give. It is a type of transitive verb, but it's a specific type. And then we have our preposition that tells us who it is given to. Noun phrase, indirect object. All right? All right, take down your notes. Pause the video as needed. Rewatch it as needed. Come to class with your questions. Thanks so much.